All right, Jenks. So I promised some baseball, so we'll do a little sprinkle of it. And if you are betting on baseball, you might as well do it over at BetMGM. Swing big on your next MLB parlay. Use this parlay boost token to score a bigger payout if your baseball parlay hits. Only at BetMGM. All right, Jenks, let's put the blinders on. I know it's football season, but your baseball bets have been pretty solid. So let's try to make some money today. All right, from a first impression standpoint, the game that kind of stood out to me, or there's a couple games that stood out, but let's start with the Mets and the Phillies. Big matchup in the NL East. Feels like the Phillies are starting to run away with things. I believe they have an 8-game lead in the NL East over the Mets. Phillies minus 135 favorites here. They just won yesterday's game 1-0. Aaron Nola had a great game. Sean Manaea is the starter for New York today, though. 1-2 with a 5.60 ERA. Ranger Suarez on the hill for Philly. He is 11-6 with a 2.89 ERA. Total of 8.5 runs. Jenks, Ranger Suarez has been pretty good to us here on the show. Are you betting on the Phillies today?
Yeah, we got to bet on this today, right? I mean, this is a cheap price, I
Gotta
feel
bet
like.
on something.
Yeah, I mean, we got to bet on something here. Yeah, I love this bet. Phillies, I looked around. I got Philly this morning minus 127. It's a massive pitching mismatch. First of all, we get the Phillies at home, and we know that at home their bats are much more active, even though that wasn't the case yesterday. But, man, Ranger Suarez, he has been on one. 4 straight starts, 4 straight wins, and you know he's pitching well when he's only gotten 7 total runs in run support in his last 3 outings, yet he keeps winning games. Like, that's how good he's been. 3 earned in his last 24 2/3 innings. Sean Manaea has had a hard time stacking dubs this season. In 10 appearances, the Mets have only won 3 of those games. He's given up 4 or more runs in 5 of his last 6 outings. His ERA over the past month, past 7. Yeah, you take the Phillies here on the money line.
Yeah, I think so as well. This is one of the bigger pitching mismatches I think we've seen in the favor of the Phillies, just because this is not the top of the rotation for the Mets. Sean Manaea certainly has some good stuff, but Ranger Suarez has been more predictable and more trustworthy. And that's what we're looking for when we're looking on people who we want to put our money on. And plus all the factors line up for the offense, like you kind of touched on it. The Phillies are a top 5 offense when at home. It's not the case when they're on the road. But they are at home here, and they have been a wagon in Philadelphia, 45-23 overall, and also as favorites. You know, when the market gives them credit, they have come through 68-44 this season when favored on the money line. So the Phillies probably going to make the card for me. I trust Ranger Suarez inherently, so I'm going to go with Philly there. All right, another big matchup and a possible postseason preview in the American League. Tigers and Yankees. Yankees minus 175 here behind Will Warren, who's 8-6 with a 4.28 ERA. Casey Mize gets the ball for Detroit, and he's been pretty solid. 13-5 this year with a 3.87 ERA. Total of 8.5 runs. Detroit, if you're interested, is plus 145. Jenks, I'm kind of surprised that the Yankees are this big of favorites.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I think there's a great chance to make some plus money. I would take the Tigers here. Like, Casey Mize has allowed 2 runs or less in 5 straight starts, and Will Warren has struggled recently, and you're still getting a very good Detroit team. When you get the Tigers at plus 145, like, okay, fine, it's in New York. Will Warren is on the mound, but Yankees are totally overpriced here.
Yeah, what are we doing? Minus 175?
Come on.
I don't think so. I understand that the Tigers have not been quite as hot as they have been to start the season. If you look at their offensive numbers, middle of the pack, but still it's a good team, and this is relative to price. At the end of the day, you're getting one of the best teams in the American League behind a solid pitcher who the run support has been there. He's 13-5 plus 145. So it's only the Tigers for me, never the Yankees, or you just don't bet on it because the Yankees at minus 175 is not a price that I would want to lay. All right, Astros, Blue Jays, or Cubs, Braves. Take your pick, Jenks. 2 matchups with some solid teams, at least on one side. I know the Astros have been scuffling a bit as of late. The Blue Jays still standing atop the AL East. I believe they have either a 2 or 3 game lead over the Yankees. They're minus 160 at home today. Jose Barrios has kind of been all over the place this year, though. 9-5, 4.02 ERA. Luis Garcia goes for the Stros, 1-0 with a 4.50 ERA. Total of 8.5 runs. Is there a play you like in this one? Or do you like the Cubs and Braves game? A couple of options there. Do you like either of these?
I like the Cubs and Braves a lot better.
Okay.
I think this is a great price on Chicago. I mean, it's essentially a coin flip. It's minus 110 on the Cubs. And I know when you see Cade Horton versus Spencer Strider, you're like, yeah, Spencer Strider's very good. Well, he is, but he just hasn't been great this season. He's 5-12, 4.97 ERA. Faced the Cubs last time out, 3 runs over 5 innings. But that's really not new for him. If you look at him over his past 10 starts, he's given up 3 runs or more in 7 of those. Braves have lost 5 straight when he's on the mound. And Atlanta, I will say, has been hitting the ball much, much better. Like, they just could not hit the ball before the All-Star break. Since then, those bats have really heated up, so they're doing a much better job. But Cade Horton, 9-4, 2.78 ERA. At some point, he's due for some regression. That's what I think is built into this price. But he's given up 2 runs or less in 9 straight. So if I can get the Cubs at minus 110 behind one of their best pitchers, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, I do have big question marks about Spencer Strider, and I think he was supposed to start on Sunday, and he's got pushed back. I just think that his return from elbow surgery is just not going as planned, and sometimes we see this. Guys come back from surgery, and they're not as good as they previously were, so maybe there's something that Spencer Strider is still working on, but a far cry from somebody who once led the majors in strikeouts. He used to be unhittable. So I'm not sure what's going on with him, but the Braves also don't have the bats that I trust too much. I understand they won yesterday, but still overall, if I'm betting on that game, the Cubs are still the better offense. And judging on the numbers, which is what I like to base my bets on, the Cubs are the much better team with the more dependable pitcher. All right, so I feel like we've gone over the main ones. Are there any other games that you think should be mentioned here?
I would take a look at the Diamondbacks in the first 5 against the Giants. You have Zach Gallen going up against Robbie Ray, but Zach Gallen is a guy who his numbers are a little bit deceiving because if you look at what he's done more recently, like his ERA has started to trickle down, and he's allowed a single run over his last 18 innings. That covers 3 starts. So when you look at the Diamondbacks, you want to stay away from the back end of their pitching staff because the bullpen is not any good, but they're very good in the first 5. And Robbie Ray is a good pitcher. There's no question, but this is another chance, I think, to get some plus money on the card. So Diamondbacks first 5 is plus 115 with a guy who certainly has all the talent to be a great pitcher, is a great pitcher, and has been much better recently. So D-backs first 5.
Ooh, that's a tough pitching matchup. Like, both those guys are not guys that I really want to fade. Like you mentioned, Zach Gallen, his numbers are not great, but he used to be one of the premier pitchers in the National League. So it does appear that he has found something. His strikeouts are up, which are obviously a good sign. Over his last 3, he's gone at least 6 innings, only 1 earned run given up, and at least 5 strikeouts in all 3 of those starts, including 8 against the Dodgers. So it does feel like Zach Gallen has turned a corner. I don't know. The Diamondbacks have not been trustworthy. Like some days they score a bunch of runs and you look at their lineup, you're like, oh, they should be good. And then other days, I don't know. Diamondbacks are really not contending for just about anything.